Dim the lights, grab a snack, and try to relax. But don't say I didn't warn you. It started like any other late-night drive through the Appalachian backroads, dark, rainy, and empty. Caleb was on his way back from a funeral he didn't want to attend. His cousin Travis had died in a hunting accident, or at least, that's what the family said. Closed casket. No details. Nobody talked about it, and that was that. It was past midnight, and his gas tank blinked E. The next town, Shade Low, was still 40 miles away. But as he crested a hill, he spotted a glowing red neon sign flickering in the mist. Gas, open 24/7. The station sat alone in a dead patch of woods. One ancient pump. A shack-sized store behind it. Rusted, forgotten, wrong. He hesitated. But the needle on the gas gauge was practically kissing the empty mark. He pulled in. Everything about the place felt old. Not nostalgic old. Wrong old. Like it didn't belong in this time. Like it didn't belong anywhere. The pump was analog. No card reader. Just a nozzle and a faded instruction sign. Pay inside. Caleb muttered a curse and made for the door. It creaked open into a too-quiet store lit by buzzing yellow bulbs. The inside smelled like rot and old motor oil. Shelves were mostly bare, dusty cans of beans, off-brand candy, gas station knives. At the counter stood a man in a navy blue jumpsuit, back turned, motionless. 20 on pump 1. Caleb said. The man didn't move. Sir. Still nothing. Caleb cleared his throat. I need to prepay. Slowly, the man turned. His face was wrong. Not monstrous, just off. Like a mask of skin stitched too tight. Too smooth. His eyes were pale. Gray, like cigarette ash. His mouth twitched in a too wide smile that didn't touch those cold eyes. You want 20? The man asked. His voice sounded like two people speaking at once, one calm, the other whispering something beneath it, fast and anxious and strange. Caleb nodded, unsettled. The man didn't move. Instead, he leaned forward. You sure you want to talk to me? Caleb blinked. What? You spoke. You shouldn't have. Excuse me. The man's eyes rolled back, actually rolled back, and he whispered, You saw the sign, didn't you? Behind Caleb, the door slammed shut. He spun around. On the inside of the glass was a handwritten note, taped at eye level. A note he hadn't seen before. It read. Do not talk to the man behind the counter. If you already did, leave now. Drive fast. Don't stop. Don't sleep. Heart pounding, Caleb turned back. But the man was gone. The counter was empty. So was the store. The lights dimmed with a shuddering hum. And from behind one of the aisles came the soft sound of whistling, low, broken, and wrong. Caleb didn't remember bolting out the store. 1 second, he was staring into an empty gas station, heart hammering against his ribs. Next, he was running to his car like hell was behind him. He threw open the door, started the engine, and peeled out so fast the old pump scraped against his bumper. Gravel spat from under his tires, spraying the air like a storm of nails. In the rearview mirror, the station was dark. The lights had gone out. The red neon sign flickered once, then died. But as he turned back to the road ahead, a shape stepped into the beam of his headlights. Caleb screamed and swerved. He spun off the shoulder, the tires skidding in mud before jerking back onto the slick pavement. His car fishtailed, the back end sliding, and for a moment it felt like he'd lose control, until the wheels caught grip again. He stomped the gas, never looking back. The trees blurred by, but everything about the road was wrong. He'd taken Route 39 dozens of times before, but now, it felt like he'd entered some copy of it. There were no signs. No streetlights. No houses. Just trees that leaned in too far. Branches clawed at the sides of his car like they were trying to reach inside. He checked his phone. No signal. No GPS. No time. Even the clock had reset, blinking 12 o'clock, over and over. His mind raced. What was that place? Why didn't he see the sign before entering? What the hell did "don't talk to the man" mean? He drove. And drove. And drove. But he never saw another road. Another car. Not even a dead raccoon. The world outside the windshield was frozen in an eternal stretch of black forest. Until he saw the lights. Two of them. Pale. Standing still ahead. Relieved, Caleb slowed down as he approached. Then his stomach dropped. It wasn't another car. It was a person. Standing in the middle of the road. Holding two old-fashioned lanterns. One in each hand. Both glowing a sickly white. The figure didn't move. Just stood there. As Caleb's headlights hit them, he saw more. The man was wearing a gas station jumpsuit. Not identical, but similar. His face was hidden in shadows. Except the eyes. Gray. Ashy. Familiar. A chill slid down Caleb's back. He pressed the gas to go around him. But the man stepped sideways. Always in front of the car. Every time he adjusted the wheel, the figure shifted. Seamlessly. As if distance meant nothing. Like gravity didn't apply. Then. The lanterns went out. So did Caleb's headlights. So did the engine. Total darkness. Inside the car, he could hear nothing. Not even breath. The world was suddenly thick and silent like he'd been wrapped in black wool. He turned the key. Nothing. Tried again. The lights inside the dashboard flickered, then stayed dead. And then, slowly. He heard it. From behind his seat. Breathing. Not his. Very slow. Very deliberate. Inhale. Exhale. Wet. Something was in the car with him. Something that smelled like blood and rusted metal. He turned his head toward the rearview mirror. But it was fogged over with handprints from the inside. A whisper rose in the air, right by his ear. You talked to him. Caleb exploded out of the car. He didn't look back, not even once, as he sprinted into the dark woods beside the road. The trees seemed alive, swaying though there was no wind. The branches clawed at his jacket, snagged his shirt, whispered things he couldn't understand. But the breathing followed. Heavy, wet, and hungry. And the whispers, God, the whispers were louder now. They weren't just in his ears. They were inside his head. You shouldn't have talked. Now you carry him with you. You were warned. One mistake is all it takes. He stumbled into a small clearing where the forest opened like a wound. There, in the middle of nowhere, sat a rusted metal chair. Bolted into the dirt. Directly in front of it, a cracked mirror leaned against a stump. His breath caught. Because reflected in the mirror was not him, but the gas station man, sitting calmly in the chair, hands folded. Behind his reflection, the trees were burning. But when Caleb turned around, the woods were still. No fire. No chair. Just the mirror, and the whispering wind. He turned back to the glass. The man in the reflection spoke, but his lips didn't move. Instead, his eyes moved, blinking in patterns. Morse code? Caleb didn't know. But the reflection was growing clearer, sharper, closer. And then he saw something he'd missed before. The reflection's chest wasn't rising. It wasn't breathing. It was a mask. A mask of Caleb's own face, worn like skin by the man behind the gas station. And behind that mask, something ancient and rotted smiled back at him. Caleb ran again. Through thorns. Through black mud. Through a world that no longer felt like his own. He ran until he collapsed, wheezing. When he opened his eyes, he was back on the road. No sign of the woods. No sign of the mirror. No car. He was standing in the middle of the highway. But something was ahead. The gas station. Again. Same flickering sign. Same rusted pump. Like he'd never left. He approached the door slowly. Hesitating. But something inside compelled him, some thread he couldn't see pulling him forward like a puppet. This time, a new note was taped to the glass. You came back. It's too late to run. Now you work here. The door opened on its own. Inside, everything was quiet. The man behind the counter was gone. Instead, Caleb saw a second counter had appeared, with a mirror. His own reflection standing behind it. And then, the buzzing lights dimmed again. And Caleb understood. He hadn't escaped. He hadn't run fast enough. He had taken the man's place. Caleb couldn't move. His body felt stiff, numb, as if something had crawled inside his skin and worn him like a shirt. He stood behind the counter, staring into the dusty mirror. And the mirror stared back. Only it wasn't him anymore. His reflection blinked slower, moved delayed, and its smile stretched just a little too wide. The store lights flickered violently. The world outside the front window looked wrong, like a painting, not a place. The clouds in the sky didn't move. The trees swayed, but there was no wind. Then the bell above the door jingled. Someone walked in. A boy, maybe 19, soaked from rain. Nervous. Breathing hard. He scanned the shelves, then approached the counter where Caleb stood frozen. You guys still open? The boy asked. Caleb tried to answer. To scream. To say don't talk to the man. But his mouth wouldn't open. Instead, his reflection answered for him. Sure, it said, voice dry as dust. We're always open. The boy nodded, glancing behind at the shelves. Okay, do you have phone chargers? Mine died on the highway. Caleb's hands moved, but not by his will. They reached under the counter, slid out a plastic-wrapped charger, and placed it on the counter. He screamed inside his skull. But nothing came out. The boy smiled, relieved. Thanks, man. You're a lifesaver. The mirror cracked, just a hairline fracture across the glass. The boy didn't notice. Actually, do you know how far I am from Harriston? GPS cut out like an hour ago. Another crack. The smile on the reflection's face grew wider. The boy looked nervous now. "Hey, are you okay?" The mirror shattered completely. Suddenly, the reflection wasn't in the mirror anymore. It was standing behind the boy. The lights in the gas station exploded with a bang. The pumps outside began leaking fuel. The neon sign blinked rapidly, then spelled out new letters. "One takes. One leaves." The boy turned around too late. Caleb watched, helpless, as the man behind the gas station wrapped his long, gray arms around the boy's shoulders and whispered into his ear. "You talk to me." The boy screamed. But it was already done. He dropped to the floor. Limp. Eyes wide. But hollow. A mask now. A shell. And in the mirror across the room, Caleb's face was gone. Replaced by a new one. The boy's. The gas station hummed with low static. Outside, the highway rippled like heat waves in the night. The pumps hissed. The shelves rearranged themselves. The lights above flickered back to life. And behind the counter, the man behind the gas station smiled again. This time, with Caleb's face. Waiting. For the next one to wander in. Warning: remember, if you ever find a gas station with no name, no time, and no roads on the map, don't talk to the man behind the counter. Not even once. Time didn't work the same anymore. Caleb didn't know how long he'd been there. Sometimes the sun rose, then set again within minutes. Sometimes it rained inside. Once, he blinked and the shelves were all gone, replaced by jars of teeth, neatly labeled with names he recognized but couldn't place. He couldn't leave. Every time he tried to walk out the front door, he ended up back behind the counter, sweating, shaking, trapped in his own skin. The worst part? He wasn't always alone. The man, the real one, he came back sometimes. Not through the door. Not from the woods. He came from inside the walls. You'd hear the drywall flex and breathe. Then a long, pale hand would slide out. Then the rest of him, dragging out of the crack. Like smoke through broken glass. And when he emerged, he'd whisper to Caleb. "The gas station isn't a place. It's a punishment. You didn't break the rules. You just noticed them. And now you're the warning for others." Caleb had tried everything, smashing mirrors, burning the counter, screaming into the fuel tanks. But the gas station just reset, like a memory that wouldn't die. Until something changed. One night, someone came in who shouldn't have. A girl. Around Caleb's age. Her hoodie was soaked with blood, not hers, and she wasn't scared. She walked right up to the counter, looked Caleb in the eye, and said, "I've been looking for this place." Caleb blinked. He couldn't speak. But something inside him twitched. The girl nodded at him, like she understood. "You're trapped," she whispered. "But I've read the journal. The one in the freezer aisle. Page 73. He had no idea what she meant. She reached behind her, pulled something out of her backpack. A mirror shard, but blackened. Cold. Wrapped in red twine. She slammed it onto the counter. The lights above shattered all at once. The ground trembled. And then, the pumps outside began screaming. A sound no machine should make. 1,000 voices howling in unison from inside the gas tanks. The girl held his stare. "If you want out," she said, "meet me at the generator room. But don't follow the hallway with the wet floor. That one leads to him." Then she turned, and walked through the employees-only door. A door Caleb had never been able to open. Until now. Caleb stepped through the employees-only door, expecting the tiny break room he remembered from before. But what lay beyond wasn't a room. It was a hallway, longer than the building should have allowed. The ceiling bulbs flickered like candlelight, and water dripped steadily from somewhere above. The floor beneath his feet was sticky, humming faintly, like it was breathing through the linoleum. He took a step forward. To his right, a door with a broken window oozed a soft, bluish glow. To his left, the hallway bent sharply. At the corner, a faded sign read, "Warning, floor wet." He remembered what the girl had said. Don't follow the hallway with the wet floor. Still, something pulled at him from the left. A whisper. "Help me." It sounded like his mom's voice. He clenched his teeth and moved toward the blue glow. As he got closer, the air turned colder, sharper, like walking through electricity. Inside the room, machines buzzed and trembled. Not just any machines, old ones. Outdated, industrial, rusted from the inside out. The generator pulsed with a rhythm that didn't match anything human-made. And crouched beside it, working on wires with a pocket knife, was the girl. "You made it," she said, not looking up. "Good. He's already hunting again." Caleb opened his mouth to speak, and to his shock, he could. "What is this place?" he croaked. She finally looked up, eyes glowing faintly. "It's not a place. It's a punishment. For people who get too curious about the rules that keep the world safe." She pulled out a journal from under her coat, leather-bound, soaked in what looked like motor oil and blood. She flipped it to a page marked 73. There, in frantic handwriting. "You must break the mirror from the other side. Only the reflection can destroy the trap. Use fire. Use salt. Use memory." The girl looked at Caleb. "That's you. You're the reflection." And then, the power died. Every light went out. Silence. Then from behind them, the sound of wet footsteps. Slap. 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 He had followed them anyway. The man behind the gas station was inside. And this time, he was hungry. The footsteps came slow, deliberate. Slap. 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 Each one sounded wetter than the last, like feet dragging through blood and oil. The girl grabbed Caleb's wrist, yanked him behind the generator just as the door creaked. Open. Something stepped into the room. Not fast. Not loud. Just, wrong. Its shape flickered like a flame in a mirror. Every time Caleb looked, it seemed to shift, a tall man, a hunched figure, a shadow with too many arms. And that sack still clung to its head, but the cloth was soaked now, dripping teeth instead of blood. The girl clutched the journal and whispered. "Don't move. Don't breathe. He sees movement. He hears guilt." But Caleb's heart pounded like thunder, and the thing, whatever it was, turned its head. He felt it in his stomach before his brain understood it. It saw him. And it smiled beneath the sack. In an instant, the creature lunged. But the girl was faster. She hurled the blackened mirror shard across the room. It hit the far wall and shattered, not into glass, but into a swirling portal of smoke and fire. From inside, another version of the gas station could be seen. Burning. Screaming. The reflection. The girl screamed at Caleb. "Throw the book into it." Without thinking, He grabbed the journal, pages bleeding between his fingers, and flung it into the shard. The second it touched the fire, everything changed. The man behind the sack shrieked. Not like a person, not even like an animal. It was the sound of 1,000 voices melting at once. His body collapsed into worms, not bugs, but pieces of memory, a wedding ring, a child's shoe, a pair of broken glasses, all wriggling on the floor. The smoke from the mirror swelled, filling the generator room, seeping into the hallway, the freezer, the shelves, the pumps outside. Caleb fell backward. And the last thing he saw before passing out, was daylight pouring through the store windows. The first real sunlight in, maybe forever. Caleb awoke behind the counter, gasping for breath. Sunlight, real, warm, natural, poured through the windows, glinting off cans of motor oil and dusty shelves. The flickering fluorescent lights were gone. The walls no longer breathed. The air no lunge. Breathed. The air no longer smelled of rust and rot. He stood slowly. The freezer was intact. No endless hallway. No voices. The door behind the counter now said simply, "Employees only." And when he pushed it open, it really was just a break room. A tiny table. A vending machine. A flickering TV that showed static but nothing else. It was over. He stumbled outside. Cars passed on the highway again. Birds chirped. Normal. Real. He walked to his own car. It was still there, just as he left it. Keys in the ignition. As he pulled onto the road, something gnawed at him. What if the girl was still inside? What if she never escaped? What if? He checked the rearview mirror. The gas station was still there. But now, standing just outside it, right by the ice machine, was her. The girl. Pale. Watching him go. Behind her, something moved in the glass. A man-shaped shadow wearing a sack on his head. Caleb's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You didn't pay the toll. His nose began to bleed. His vision flickered. He blinked, he was no longer on the highway. He was in front of the gas station again. Parked. Staring. Everything reset. The same can of root beer still rolled across the pavement. The same sound of buzzing insects filled the heavy summer air. Only this time, a new sign hung above the door. Now hiring. No experience required. No exit available. And the man behind the gas station? He was waiting again.